So I thought today I'd take a quick look at all the different alliums that we've got growing and just give you an idea of the different successions, some experiments that I've been doing in terms of growing nice early onions and some early leeks and things like that. So let's have a look round. These are the furthest on of my main crop onions and they're looking really nice. They are in a cold frame and I did have the lid on this cold frame just for the first few weeks, and they are probably 2, maybe 3 weeks further on than my big main crop bed. And I've got a similar bed here of sets, and interestingly they didn't really respond quite as well to the cold frame lid being on, so these aren't quite as far on even though they're sets. You can see the comparison there, and it's actually the same density of onions in both beds, about 90 plants on each side, so 180 in total. So I'm a massive fan of spring onions, and so I basically interplant them everywhere where I've got gaps. And even though these Calabrese have kind of taken over, there's still plenty of really great spring onions underneath here which are just ready for harvest now. And so I've been picking and giving loads of these away, and in the main the quality of these is pretty good. There are some nice good thick ones for cooking and some nice smaller ones which are just fine for eating fresh. Some lovely carrots as well, and then we've got the onions that are intended to see us through from the end of our stored main crop onions through to the main crops arriving in August. And so these were planted from sets and they're doing okay, reasonable size on them, but they're still a few weeks away from a decent harvest. I've got quite a few different ones down here. I've got lots of garlic as well here, and some more nice red onions coming along okay. Quite a lot of weeding needed on this bed. And then these are the ones that I grew from seed, so these are tough ball. These are coming along a little bit faster actually. Quite a decent bulb on those, so in a couple of weeks time they'll be ready for harvest. And then sown from that same batch we've got more tough balls, all sort of multi-sown, and even though they're multi-sown they're actually giving me a decent sized onion. I'm going to pick all those along the back there, and I'm really pleased with those as my first pick. It's really nice and firm, really lovely, decent size these. I mean obviously they're not main crop onion size, but for my first harvest of decent bulbs I'm pretty pleased. And the ones that are left we'll keep harvesting those over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then hopefully the ones outside should have caught up. Another bed here of the tough balls, and again they're bulbing up really well. It doesn't seem to matter to them too much that they're in these clumps of 3 or 4. And then we've got spring onions. These are new season ones, and again these are looking pretty good. These are only a couple of weeks away from harvest, which is good because this bed is going to be peppers, so I'm going to have to interplant the peppers into this bed when I harvest these lettuces, and then just harvest the lettuces and the spring onions whilst the peppers are growing, just for the first few weeks. And then in between these beetroot we've got salad onions for a sort of July, August harvest, and again they're coming on really quite nicely. Quite pleased with those. And these are the main crop onions growing from seed, and I do need to take this cover off and just give them a bit of a weed because you can see plenty of mare's tail growing up in there, but generally speaking I'm delighted with the quality of those. They're growing really strongly just underneath this little bit of mesh here, and really this is just the last batch of onions, and obviously these are grown at really wide spacing, And these are actually going from sets. Almost everything I do is from seed, but I just did some from sets here just for a change, and because I got sent them for free. But in the centres, so in all the gaps on here, this is why they're so widely spaced, I've got parsnips, and they have yet to germinate. So now let's look at some leeks. So this is a bed of turnips, and these are actually ready for harvest now, or at least ready for thinning out. And that's good because I've got leeks interplanted in here, and these leeks are looking really nice. These are summer leeks, and they all survive in this interplant just fine, and so they're going to really thrive once the turnips come out. Here's my last batch of winter leeks, not looking too bad. Some nice spring onions growing here in the asparagus bed, and they don't seem to mind each other one bit. And then I've got my main crop leeks in here, interplanted into this bed of colettes. Elephant garlic interplanted into these strawberries. Ordinary garlic interplanted into these strawberries. Early garlic interplanted with green garlic. Basically the same thing, I just got extra garlic in here that I need to thin out in the next few weeks. These are in the polytunnel, and this is most of the green garlic that we're harvesting at the moment, and there's just one bulb per tub in here, and so you get a lot of bang for your buck. And these are going to be the outdoor tomatoes, but right now the containers are serving another purpose. Fortunately, my outdoor tomatoes are still 2 weeks away, and I normally like to interplant everything, but just this once in these beds I didn't manage to get around to it because I just didn't have anything ready. So these are just a combination of main crop onions and spring onions in the back garden beds. And then we've got main crop garlic, and that's all interplanted with little spring onions, and they're coming along quite nicely. And then just for completeness in the front garden, we've got main crop onions and shallots, and more main crop onions down there. So quite a lot of onions actually this year. Never have too many onions. In fact, quite a lot of alliums in general. I think we've got about 400 leeks, probably 1,000 or more onions, a few hundred garlics, something like that. So here's a quick look at today's harvest. Slightly down on the previous week, but we are in the middle of the hungry gap. So we've got purple sprouting broccoli here, and pilot, that's the first harvest of those actually, looking quite nice. And mixed brassicas, these are all leaves here, little baby tiny cabbage hearts from clearing a bed. New season carrots, turnips, calabrese, big onions for cooking, plenty of those, asparagus, and then quite a bit of spinach. And we'll be down on spinach I think in subsequent weeks. Then we've got pea shoots, a few of those, and field bean tops, and parsley. So that's not too bad, quite happy with that. So here's a quick look at the salad mixes. The grapes and the tomatoes are not homegrown, but everything else is. So quite a nice selection there. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve Richards. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.